I thought too much, I guess. And from their perspective, I thought too much to the point where I started to question the eddy that I was in. It was a scary time for me. It was a scary time. First of all, nobody wants to be wrong. Nobody likes to be pointed out that they're in an eddy. You can't point to someone and say you're in an eddy, because that person will just automatically resist, because they don't want to realize that. In order to step out of any type of an eddy, whether it is the eddy of, I just believe in Newtonian physics, I believe that Kriya Yoga is the only way to get self-realized, I believe the Catholic Church is the only divine institution upon the face of the earth, I believe the Mormon Church is the fullness of the gospel. In order to get out of these eddies that we find ourselves in, that feel so safe, well, it's a scary transition. It takes a few things within us that, if we don't have it within us, we'll stay trapped in the eddy. And one of them is, you really have to have a 100% understanding that you are going to be loved by God or the universe, whatever you choose to call it, no matter what you do. And there are so many people who don't believe that. There aren't that many people that can actually say that the universe or God loves me unconditionally. Now, they may say that God loves you unconditionally, but if you don't do what He says, He doesn't want anything to do with you. A lot of religions look at God that way. But when you realize that you're already a part of the universe, that you're already a part of what makes God up, when you realize that when God made you, that He used or she used the only thing available, Himself or herself, you were made out of God. You are an extension of God. And when you truly realize it, you realize that God can no more hate you or not love you or not want to be with you any more than you would not want to be part of your right hand. Because that right hand is a part of you. It can never not be a part of you. And, you know, God's not going to sever off parts of His own self. But I had to relinquish fear. I was afraid to step out of my eddy of the Mormon Church. I thought, if this is not right, if I'm stepping out, and what if I'm wrong, then I'm not gonna go to heaven or the celestial kingdom, and all these fears. Plus the fact that I had spent so many years knocking on people's doors when I was 19 and 20, telling them that this was the true church. You know, what does that mean about what I did? It takes humility also. Humility in realizing that maybe you don't have all the answers, or maybe the eddy that you are in is trying to keep you in that eddy because it doesn't want you to go free. It takes a great deal of trust, a great deal of humility to step out of your eddy. And it was a scary time for me. But I finally realized, I prayed one time, and I still at that point had seen God as separate from me. I had not come to the realization that I was a part of God. That I'm not a separate entity. Someone that God could just cast away if I don't do what He says. And I prayed and I said, you know what, God? I said, truthfully, with all my heart, I said, I don't believe that some of the things that I've been learning and that I've embraced are necessarily a reflection of the absolute reality. And I said, I have to believe you're better than this. I believe you are better than what I've been taught. I believe you're more loving, more accepting. I believe you are more infinite than what I have been taught. In this little box that I had found myself in, trapped in this eddy. And I said, you know what? I may be wrong. I'm going to step out of the eddy, and what if I'm wrong? But I have to believe you love me enough to love me no matter what I choose. If it's something that I sincerely believe that you will not punish me for, stepping out for a sincere desire to understand and know more. And basically that was what I did. I also told God incidentally, I said, I have so many friends that aren't Mormons, God. I said, according to my church, they're never going to see your face. And I don't think that's right. If they don't get to see your face, then I really don't want to see a face of God that's like that anyways. I don't believe God's like that. And that's basically what I told him. And I stepped out of my eddy. The moment I stepped out of that eddy, things just started opening up to me. It's like the water that was trapped in the whirlpool is now starting to flow down the river, and realize how much more there is to learn and understand. And it realizes this deeper connection to the river more than it ever realized it when it was trapped in the eddy. And I can truthfully say that. Now, I don't say I have all the answers, because the truth is I don't want to jump from one eddy into another. And eddies are such a trap. As soon as we feel good about something, as soon as we arrive at some kind of a deeper truth or an understanding, it is so easy to then turn that understanding into some type of a dogma or into some type of an eddy. Churches have been doing it for thousands of years, even longer than that. I mean, a lot of the Egyptians were trapped in the eddies of Egyptian religions, and you see over in the Middle East the eddies of the Islam religion and the Jewish religions and the many eddies that have formed out of Christianity, all saying they have it. Step out of the eddies and make a pact with yourself that you are going to be on the lookout for other eddies, because you don't consciously jump into an eddy. How you get stuck in one is it's a trap of reassurance that you start feeling safe in what you believe. You start to believe that this is the ultimate. And when you start to have those thoughts within your mind, be aware of them, stop and look around you and ask yourself, am I jumping into an eddy? Because it's hard to get out of those eddies. It's very difficult. The truth of the matter is, the reason why we like eddies is because ultimate state of consciousness, the ultimate state of reality is that it is endless, infinite. In its ultimate state, it's unknowable. And we've talked about that before too, and what a good thing it is to have an unknowable ultimate state of consciousness. Because it is unknowable, it is infinite in its manifestations and eternal. It's an eternal process of consciousness evolving in awareness. And it never ends. It's so vast that it scares people. They don't want to picture God as this infinite, unknowable essence, because that's too big. They want to stick him in a box, give him a name, create a dogma around him, create an eddy. You know, and religions are not the only ones. Scientists do the same thing. It is so difficult for scientists to step out of their eddies so many times. They come up with a theory, and they don't want to let go of it. They want to keep themselves in that theory. And the truly open-minded scientist will know that when it arrives to a state of understanding, that understanding is not the ultimate state, no matter how far in the understanding you have gone. There's a mantra that I say to myself all the time, and it's true. If you think you know it all, well, that's all you know. That's all you know. You think you know it all? That's all you know. And that applies to me as well.